All right. So we have a very special episode of Mike's Movie Podcast featuring Evan with special guest Adam today. For the first time in the 7-year history of this podcast, we have a live studio audience that is here for the recording.
Oh shit!
All right. So there we go. So this is really exciting. This is a new episode of the podcast, and today we are going to be discussing a brand new spooky film called Barbarian. But we'll have plenty of time to discuss that. Adam and Evan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'll tell you what, I had a margarita with my taco lunch, so this is going to be another extra special episode because I don't usually drink in my life in general, and here I am, wasted.
Oh wow!
On the internet, forever.
We've got a lubed up chassis here. We're already like overwhelmed with your presence as it is. This is going to be.
That's probably why my phone wasn't working. My phone deactivates when it can tell my blood alcohol is over 0.0000 because it's not safe for me to be
Right.
I hacked right through that shit.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. I had hoped that this would happen because, as I've said a few times recently to you guys, and this is no joke, and I'm not saying it to garner any kind of pity, but this little gathering is the highlight of it is my favorite thing that I do. Right. When I think about all the things I do during the week, this is my favorite. So, and that has nothing to do with you guys. It's more just, it's what I say.
I don't want your joy to be dependent on me. That's too much.
No, it's an outlet for me. You guys provide a canvas for me too. But I actually already, because we have this live audience, I made a decision that I was going to be I'm going to be quiet and kind of let you guys do more of the driving for a change.
What are you talking about?
Because I feel like, I can be a little bit, kind of a creative control guy, and you guys are kind of more like backseat. Whatever.
You, Mike, are too quiet. I talk over everybody like I just did over you.
Okay, well, I also will just lead by saying I was late because I was driving from Raleigh back from Alamo Draft House, which I guess is just like, my whatever. It's like the bar for me. That's where I go. That's my happy place. And I just see whatever I can and eat a burger. I'm going to make you guess. So I told Nick, I've seen 3 movies in the last 3 weeks, starting with Barbarian, which we're talking about tonight. And then all new releases, all new.
Pearl. Was it Pearl?
I saw Pearl last week.
That wasn't today.
Nope. Well, I saw Smile, which is the only.
I'm done. That's next on my list.
Yeah, Mike.
I'm going to see what you say.
I'm not going to spoil. Mike asked me. It's funny. I saw 3 horror movies. All I have to say is they're all incredibly different from one another.
Wow, what a great review!
That's my whole review. I felt like that was a pretty subtle and nuanced observation that you just poo-pooed.
What's your favorite?
Oh, Barbarian, hands down, easy decision. And the other 2 were also both enjoyable. But
excuse me, no sneezing in the studio audience.
Oh, did he sneeze?
But we're gonna have to start over.
We're gonna have to get security to escort them.
I got it right here. Wilbur, sick 'em.
Was that Erica who sneezed?
No.
I don't know. There's so many people here who can tell. There's dogs.
So are we going to do the red light, green light thing where I can give Erica permission to speak at times throughout the podcast?
Mike's Movie Podcast. Mike calls the shots. And I can tell by action that we're already not having any of that. Weren't you going to be quiet?
Well, I want to start off by saying this. So I've been to the movie theater a lot, and I've seen all the previews and all the posters, and I kind of have a sense of what looks cool. And, there's one movie that stands out that makes me very angry. Just the concept and the poster, and I really am upset about it. And I want the riddle of the show is going to be to see if anybody can guess what that movie is.
I already guessed. Is it the Harvey Weinstein movie?
No, you're way off.
Yeah, I My knowledge of movies that are out and coming out is limited to the extent that I'm not even going to be able to guess what it is.
Okay.
So I mean, you may as well be asking me to, we may as well be asking like Adam to name like offensive linemen on Pac-12 schools.
Okay, well, maybe I think one of the other three people who are present might be able to figure it out as we go up.
Is it Woman King?
It is absolutely. And I want everybody to pull up on their phone a picture of the poster for the movie.
I'm alive on Earth. I've seen the poster.
Well, geez, that is shots fired at me.
Yeah.
By you.
Yeah, that's a very.
What I should say is, I look at the posters at the theater, and they have had that up in the theater for.
Would you go see Woman King, Adam?
No, it's not for me. These in the world of social media I inhabit, in the film specific world I inhabit, the consensus reaction to that movie is it's a movie that's like ostensibly, about female and people of color empowerment, that only middle-aged white nerds are white knighting to go see, and that's why it's not doing well at the box office.
That's an accurate explanation of what that piece of garbage is about. And nothing against Viola Davis. I think she's cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talented people involved,
sure,
but it could be a great movie. I'm never going to know. I don't care about that kind of thing.
Yeah,
you could have that with a white man, and I care even less.
It couldn't be that.
White House guy.
You couldn't be that with a white man. That's the whole point. It's this like really super like.
Movies like that. What the fuck are you talking about? That's most movies like that.
No, you're not getting it. The whole movie it's a race thing. Like it's supposed to be a race thing. Oh, we're gonna rewrite history the right way this time. And it's like, well, no, you didn't. This is a made up thing that never happened. And
I mean, tell you what, I love made up things. So I have no interest in accurate portrayals of history or reality. So that's not my problem.
But it's another instance of this on the nose pandering to white guilt, like you mentioned.
Not working. Unlike Barbarian, which is a rare movie that was almost not going to come out in theaters and did so well in the release it did that it's expanded and made more money every week. That's like an effective grassroots word of mouth promotional campaign.
I want to talk about kind of get on topic here and actually fuse a couple things because as Adam, as you know, is very familiar with Outlaw Vern, and I'm also not only am I a fan of Outlaw Vern, I'm a patron as well. Patreon. So,
don't tell him I'm not.
Oh, geez. Well,
I'm a farmer out here in the woods.
I'll make sure to edit that out so Vern is not upset by that. But he had a good review of Barbarian, and what he was talking about is how one of the points that he brought up is that it's it's a more of a straight ahead horror movie that really doesn't do too much on the social commentary side. I mean, which is not to say that there isn't any in the movie, but that's not really a focal point. But what I was getting on is that he also had a series of the summer of '92, which has really some good stuff in there. And I would be remiss not to mention that he did a review of Stay Tuned on the website, which is which is on point. And like other 1992 movies such as Honey, I Blew Up the Kid and Mom and Dad Saved the World. So a lot of good stuff on there.
I love Mom and Dad Saved the World. I was kind of disappointed when he hit on some personal favorites, and he didn't dislike them, but he was pretty mixed on both Stay Tuned and Mom and Dad Saved the World, two movies I am very passionate about.
Yeah, I think I agreed with this conclusion on Stay Tuned as well. I think that was a very, very fair review, and I think I resonate with that, where he seems to have more nostalgia and fondness for it than the movie is probably warranted, which I do as well.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to go through I actually gonna have to rewatch our podcast on that one because I can't remember exactly what I said.
Already done and do them again on the podcast.
Yeah,
and we'll call it double checking.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this up, guys. We're gonna transition over to another topic now, right?
No, well, yeah, I think that we've been, kind of beating around the bush long enough. Let's actually get into the meat and potatoes here about the movie Barbarian. And I'm going to start with an observation, and that is there was a scene in the movie that reminded me very vividly of Deep Blue Sea when Samuel L. Jackson
I know exactly.
he gets eaten by a shark, and I appreciated that. And I'm just gonna bounce around. I thought that the scene where the homeless guy gets his arm ripped off and killed, and then where Justin Long gets his eyes gouged out and his face crushed. I thought that the movie did a good job of kind of having some of that like classic 1970s style like zombie gore in it at the end. I thought that was a good twist, a good payoff there that they had.
Yeah, with some gross stuff.
With like pink blood. They had a kind of pink tinge to the blood. I noticed that. Yeah.
Didn't you guys want to drink that milk? It made me thirsty as a guy that loves milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't look warm enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah, we could, that could be.
I like your milk. I like a good 88 degrees. I like it to kind of be so hot I gotta sip it and blow on it.
When this movie, I think that listen, a lot of people are saying this, and I agree that Barbarian is going to be the new Rocky Horror Picture Show, where they're going to have like midnight showings.
You say that?
Yeah, listen, everybody's saying that, and that's what's going to happen is like people are going to have like bottles of like baby formula. For those scenes, everyone's going to be drinking along with them in the theater.
Not formula. That's her milk. That's real milk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's actually review Rocky Horror Picture Show. How many times have you seen that movie, both of you?
0. I've seen a few fragments of it. I'm familiar with the song "Time Warp," which is impossible not to be. And I've never sat down and watched it.
Until the finish, that means you don't have any gay friends, and you never have. That's the first gay friends make you do is strap you down Clockwork Orange style and make you watch Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Well, let's be clear. They're not gay. They're just confused. And I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about that.
Kidding.
Yes, messing with you. It's called sexual. What is it?
Morphism.
Sexual dysmorphism. That's what it is. Yeah, exactly.
Is that like what is that like the is that like the medical condition that's used for like conversion therapy?
I don't know, but
I'm not a doctor like Evan.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Someone wanted to chime in on that from the audience. Let's go to the audience. What do you have to say about that?
I'm pretty sure sexual dimorphism is when like an animal, like a frog or whatever, can have the sex characteristics of male.
No. Did I say dimorphic? I meant dysmorphic.
I did. I said it because it was a funny word, and you went with it.
Oh, yeah, no, it's dysmorphia. It's a confusion about.
Yeah.
They think that there's something that they're not.
Well, this is how we think we're smart and important enough to share our thoughts on the internet, and we're actually not.
And the data show that. Well, I shamefully forgot to put tags on the last video, which I could correct that. But no.
I never look at the tags.
All I know is that if you put tags and you do it well, you will get views. So like
a sexual dysphoria, and I'm sure
we might lose our ability to post. I mean, seriously, that's the kind of thing that gets kicked off.
Anyway, this is a movie podcast. So what I want to talk about is Mike. I don't know if Mike was being comedic for effect, but Mike said he didn't know which character in the movie was Evan.
So
already talking.
So let me jump in on this one. Yeah, because actually I was talking to Evan last week, and because we were talking about like who's who in the movie, the characters, and the movie does not have that many characters in it, as well, which is I think one of the positive characteristics of the movie is the smaller cast. And I know that the main villain, the overwhelming consensus is that like the main villain, the kidnapper guy, is Evan. Was the connection there? Well, you're shaking your head on that one. So maybe I'm completely confused, but there was nobody in the movie that I was like, oh yes, that reminds me of somebody. So I will.
Justin Long is Evan.
Oh,
Okay.
really? That's really funny. 'Cause when you texted that, Adam, I immediately thought like, oh, I'm the killer. But
I
I
thought you were
never
just.
would have thought Justin Long. That's
Wow.
deep. That's deeply insulting. It was insulting enough.
I mean, I kind of felt like I was being naughty when I suggested it.
Interesting.
How are you the killer? Maybe your self-image is the killer.
My self-image is the killer. I also feel like Nick and Mitchell might have made that comparison. Justin Long. In what sense am I Justin Long?
Is that correct?
How the fuck am I Justin Long? Nick, what do you think?
Not Justin Long, or at least that never crossed my mind.
Adam, you're way off. You're way off base here.
Somebody in the movie was Evan, and there was hubbub about who that would be. When Bill Skarsgård or whoever showed up on the screen, I thought maybe this is who Evan is supposed to be, and I lost track throughout the movie.
No, I'm not. Okay, so the killer Barbarian, who I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's the Barbarian they're referencing. When they show the Barbarian in his final minutes in his bed, to me that's like, oh, that's Ahab. Like that is the epitome of Ahab.
That's not Evan.
Well, Evan isn't like, what the fuck, Justin? So he's a selfish douchebag who's in LA trying to make money, or like and date raped his girlfriend, and is trying to get out.
LA doesn't have anything to do with it.
Right, but like, what I'm trying to think, what Adam would think of as me being Justin Long. I guess it has something to do with the money and the like, just careless.
You seem like the kind of guy that if you were in a sex dungeon in a property you owned, would also be excited about the square footage.
I mean, that was a funny little thing in the movie. I
love that part. That's possibly my favorite.
I gotta admit, I'm flabbergasted because I thought I was a slam dunk for the Barbarian, and this is interesting. So Mike had no idea.
Well, I guess I'm way off base because I'm the only one that thought that. Well, no, me, Izzy. I was like, did that guy remind you? Izzy agreed with me, but that's probably couples psychic.
But what? Like what? Like what is he? The measuring of the square footage. So the idea is that like when you're supposed to be really concerned about the creepy weirdness of a situation, I would care more about the opportunity to make money.
No, it's just kind of like a diminutive, frustrated yuppie guy.
Yuppie. Okay, there's the key word. See, it's funny to me that you think of me as a yuppie.
I mean, golf.
I don't golf.
You used in your life, maybe not now.
I've never, Mike. Do I golf? Mike has been with me the 2 times I've tried to golf, and I do not golf.
Did you have a personal trainer for a while? That's some yuppie shit.
Sure, I've taken personal trainer classes. Yeah, every fucking everybody does that.
We were talking. Erica was asked if she was raised religiously, and she was like, "Well, we went to church every week, and I went to a Catholic school. We weren't really religious." That's you talking about like, I mean, yeah, I had a personal trainer, and I'm a teacher.
No, I can be the arbiter of this conversation here and say that Evan is not a golfer, and I would say I think that you dabbled very briefly.
But anyway, we're off track.
Well, we're getting way off track.
We need to. If this podcast is about anything, it's about focused discussion on the movie that we all watched. And
well,
we need to get back to our roots here.
My feathers have been ruffled, and so we're gonna have to do something about that.
In the ring.
We're in the ring. The gloves are coming off. Mike, what did I say about Adam on the phone last week that I told you to remind me?
Oh, you're talking about like. I think you're talking about Adam being a sentimental person, a deeply sentimental being.
You're being a much more you're being much more diplomatic. I said something to I can't remember the context though. We were talking, somehow relationships came up. Oh yeah. We were referring to something you had said that indicated your usual sort of superficial stance of fuck money, fuck life, fuck everything, whatever. Which, as I've always said, is quite obviously a farce. Like you have this like veneer, but Mike, I can't remember what Mike had said that got it out of me. And I said like, oh yeah, that's the whole fucking thing. Adam is actually like a deeply emotional, caring person who's in fact opposite of that. And he loves traditional deep relationships and cupcaking and kissing around.
That's true, but that's unrelated to the other premise.
Well, I don't see how that can be true. Because if it's fuck money, fuck life, you're basically making the claim that like there's no real meaning, right? No meaning to anything. Okay. Well then why have the emotional attachments and connections?
Oh, I mean like for money and society and culture at large. I mean, yeah, there isn't a meaning. So you got to just do whatever you enjoy. It's some decide, whatever the word for that philosophical thing is.
Okay.
Meaning has to do with whether you enjoy something or not.
So there's no meaning, but the right thing to do is to just enjoy.
Yeah.
Life.
So Evan, I'm just going to jump in here real quick. Evan, you may have heard of this philosopher, Albert Camus. Ever?
Indeed.
Yeah. He had a thing or two to say about this topic. I think you should look it up.
I got some stuff you guys should both read before we continue this any further.
Let's just say
that. Yeah, well, I don't. Anyway, Adam, continue. I kind of jumped in here, so I don't want to disrupt your train of thought.
Well, we've already gone off the rails into existentialism and
Well, here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about a thing that I want to talk about Airbnb in general. How do you guys feel about Airbnb as a service? Also, the other ripoffs and your experiences, how often you've used it.
I have a quick question. I do want to tie this back to the movie real quick. What I actually don't 100% remember is, was this an Airbnb that they were at? So they were like, this is an Airbnb. So
reference was that they each the home was available on multiple services, and they each rented it on separate service, and it had accidentally been double booked. I can't remember the name of the other one. There are several, but
yeah, I could. But that was something that they were like, yes, I went to Airbnb and I got that. So I can't remember.
What you guys think, and then I'll tell you what I think.
So what do I think about like Airbnb as like general concept?
Your experiences using it, if you have.
I've had one direct experience using Airbnb, and that was in Eugene, Oregon, or Oregon, if you are using the Wisconsin pronunciation. And I was there for a half marathon, and I killed it by getting just below just below 2 hours. So I didn't actually kill it, but I was happy with myself. I felt good afterwards. And the Airbnb though, I mean, I have to say I had a solid experience with the Airbnb. No issues getting in or out, and it was nice being there. With that said, I was there with my aunt and uncle who booked it. Myself, I personally would not do an Airbnb because it just seems kind of weird being in somebody else's house.
Interesting.
Pardon me?
And that's the one time you've ever been in one?
I've been in like other rental homes before, but I can't remember if they were Airbnb or if they were found elsewhere. But I can say I'd rather be at like a Howard Johnson or a Motel 6 rather than an Airbnb.
Yeah.
But all that said, that's a personal preference. I mean, I have a generally positive feeling towards Airbnb as a general idea, though.
Evan?
To me, it's just the next. It's like electric cars, like liking it isn't really liking or not liking it isn't even really a meaningful thing.
So it's inevitable. It's the future of.
It is a superior technology to the hotel model. Yes, for many reasons. And I don't have any.
How many times you stayed in an Airbnb in your life?
Dozens, many times, and that most of them. A lot of in Europe, in different cities in Europe, and because it's a lot cheaper and easier and nicer. And I mean, it's like you can rely on the review system for the most part, like it's kind of hard to. I'm sure there are bad experiences. I've had some that were better than others, but because the owners have the threat of the bad review, they have much more incentive to provide good service than the hotel, which has ways of, through their brand and just penetration of a larger market, they have ways of obscuring bad reviews and bad service. And there are other benefits as well. I also like hotels. I don't want hotels to go away. But to me, I mean, I would go back to the electric car thing. It's like, I don't think it's an inevitable market transformation that's already pretty much happened.
Well, how do you feel about Airbnb though, if you knew that there was a spooky monster living in some tunnels underneath it?
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that like the folks at Airbnb were confident enough in what I just said that they didn't even worry that a movie like this would. I don't think I don't see how something like that could happen. They would have to pick an Airbnb with no review.
Well,
They'd have to, right?
No one had gone in the basement. No one had opened the door.
No, I mean, but that's another. So this gets to another piece.
I want to stop, and I made you guys say what you said before I said what I said, so you guys don't both just say what I'm going to say, which is I think Airbnb is stupid. Hotels are better.
Oh, big surprise! Big
I hate that funky, rinky-dink thing. You gotta text some person, and they like charge you fees if there's a hair on the television or whatever. Just give me a fucking. I also am not picky about hotels. I don't care about the aesthetic experience of a place I'm in. If I'm in a rental place, I just need a place to take a shower and sleep.
Well,
I don't care about the bookshelves and the furniture. Give me a red roof inn. Give me whatever fucking bullshit, and change the linens when I leave for the day.
Nah, man. So like, look, sometimes you're right. It depends on the situation. So like, for instance, in Rome, Italy, if you want to find a good hotel, a decent hotel that doesn't have rats, anywhere close to the good shit in Rome, it's extremely expensive. And the Airbnbs are way, way less money. So sometimes it's just a matter of price. Second, with Airbnb, you can customize your experience a bit more. So like I've stayed in places in Chicago with a friend that were like themed, decked out. Like this is like for instance, there was like this underground log cabin place in Chicago that you could rent, you know, and it's so you're going for the experience, right? They're not just providing a room, you know, it's this.
I don't understand that. The idea that a log cabin room would be worth money.
Well, it's supposed to look rustic and outdoorsy, and it's a fun, you know, kitschy.
I'd
like to find.
That's free.
Huh?
I said, you know, it looks rustic and outdoorsy. The woods, that's free.
Well, it's nice to have it in the middle of Chicago, though, right? It's the
And why the fuck? Yeah, I want to go to the place that's the opposite of what I want and find a little place that's the opposite.
This is like Adam's in a zone right now that I would refer to as just like classic hardcore contrarian. Like his gripes don't even really make sense. His gripes don't make sense. It doesn't need explanation. It's a novelty thing. We have a log cabin in the middle of an urban center. That's funny. It's ironic. It's cool. But it doesn't need any explanation. I get that maybe you have a weird hang up about it, but you hate everything. You don't like to watch anything if it's not on a VHS tape. So of course you want hotels.
Like, Barbarian not on a VHS tape. I had a great time.
If it were, you would get that. You would prefer to see it on the grainy tape.
Not true. Anytime a movie is released on a superior resolution, I discard the lower resolution copy and upgrade happily.
Well, this is going to be a funny one to listen to. I'm still hung up on the fact that you think I was Brian Long.
For my entire life, I agree.
Yeah. You know, so I just want to have a quick comment.
Sure, Adam, you're right about everything. Thanks.
No, everything you've said today has been wrong, as per usual. But I don't expect you to have any grace in accepting that, which is the norm. It's okay. We'll have this record for posterity.
You really think I'm going to be like 40 and be like, guys, I got a log cabin Airbnb in Manhattan. It's awesome.
That does sound awesome. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that? I'd like to stay in this Ramada Inn, please, because somehow, I mean, Adam, like you have no credibility with these contentions, right? I mean, like you famously would say things like, "Oh, it's the start of a world pandemic." Of course, we're going to travel. This is the best day to travel. Like, screw the pandemic. I have text evidence of you saying this, by the way, in March of 2020, the day after the World Health Organization declared.
We were in Mexico.
Yeah. You were about to go. You were about to go to Mexico. You hadn't gone to Mexico yet.
I did.
And you made an argument similar to the one you're making now, which is just like, it's just belligerent obstinacy.
What did I say?
I don't
understand what you're saying. I said it's not true. What did I say?
I made a plea to Nick to don't get on the plane to Mexico City the day after they declare a world health pandemic. You might not get back. They're closing airports. You're closing airports. You might not get back. And what you said was, of course we will go. This is a perfect time to go. The pandemic's good. It will cull the herd, which is like, I mean, fine, but like
I don't disagree with that. Is your contention that I would?
I know, no, but it's blatant contrarianism is what it is. It's just like I'm gonna find a way to go against.
Anytime we disagree, I'm being fair. That's what you're saying.
Yes, and it's like to the point of being absolutely absurd sometimes. And I think this hotel Airbnb thing has turned into something like that, where, okay, everything you say that might be positive about Airbnb is stupid. I don't get that. I would prefer the dusty, shitty hotel.
That hotels are less dusty. The fuck are you talking about?
You asked me about the data. You asked me about the data. I gave you my.
No one said shit about data. No one cares about data.
You yourself asked how many times. That's the data I'm referring to. So I'm going to ask you the same question. Mike's is 1. I said dozens. I would say conservatively 30. How many have you?
Oh God, way too many. In the Zola Jesus tour days, so many.
And they had dust on them.
They were, yeah. It's always someone's funky, stupid little house that they clean enough that you can stay there.
Yeah.
They don't have like underpaid immigrants just slaving away for their lives like the hotels do. They have someone like 30 passive income stream doing the bare minimum so they can feel like they're making more money by doing less work.
Well, what do you think about the general argument I gave you about the review system and the structure in place to prevent that? You never responded to that.
Hotels also have that. Do hotels not have reviews? Everything has reviews.
The argument was that the hotels can use their brand and penetration across a wider market to obscure that.
I just want to just chime in with a couple things.
They don't control the reviews are all by third-party services. No one's going on RamadaInn.com to read reviews.
Sure they are.
Who is? I've never gone to a hotel website to look at their own reviews. You go to Google or Yelp.
I need to jump in here with the 2 points real quick. One is I do agree with Evan on the review part. Is like kind of like being in the gig economy space as I am for my employment. I do know that like for those types of companies, so whether it's like Rover, whether it's Airbnb, like the reviews are very, very important. And I know because when my team at Rover was like responsible for like responding to reviews when considerers were upset about a bad review. So that is a powerful incentive. I do want to say, and just like thinking that about this podcast in general right now, is that I am thinking about the movie Freaked, when like at the end of the movie they like pan to the audience and like everybody is like sleeping because they're so bored by the story about that one.
Let's take a look. Let's check the audience. How's the audience doing?
Yeah,
exactly. We just made it suck. You like that, and it's your fault.
Yeah. So on that point, so I will say just as a quick aside, just to kind of plant this seed in the minds to incept this idea in the seeds of the minds of our studio audience here. We will be taking some questions later on.
We are going to edit this.
They're really excited. I won't show it, but they're really excited.
We're going to edit this out. It went off the rails when Adam asked his dumb question about Airbnb. It was a bad question. We're going to totally edit out.
We ended the movie.
We're going to edit that. So snip. And I have the as a side.
Wait, what are you going to edit? You're going to edit
nothing. Let's drop it. Don't worry about it. I want to reminisce about a time. Speaking of Mike's comment just now about the scene in Freaked. I don't remember what Christmas it was, but a few Christmases ago, we were at Nick and Mitch's place on Sherman, and you and I got into it like that, Adam. I don't remember what the subject was, whatever bullshit. And everybody was just sort of like that deep, miserable sigh.
I mean, this is at least a new one. People do that one. We're doing ones we've done a million times. I don't ever remember talking about this particular issue.
No, you're right. You did introduce a new one. But I
my heart rate gets going. I'm having the time of my life.
It's a workout. You know, in the old days, we you'd box. You know, you get the gloves on, you get in the ring, you duke it out. But we use our words.
We're sweaty and take off your clothes and touch another man.
I'm sweaty. I'm very sweaty. Ever since you said I was Justin Long, I've been sweating with rage, and it smells really bad in here right now, and it didn't before this podcast started. So I'll just say that.
I like that you wanted to be the rapist kidnapper, and the fact that I like were a yuppie is more.
I did want that. I
What are we, a rapist?
did. Well, Mike, come on, put us back on track.
Yeah. So, well, back on track. So with Airbnb in
Oh,
the
no.
movie, I feel like I meant this is getting back on track here. We're on the highway still, but we're going getting on an exit ramp here. So just trust that I have my eyes on the exit ramp. I think if I'm Airbnb about the movie, I think that like I'm not so worried about like, oh, when people are going to see this movie, they're going to be afraid of Airbnb. Because I think that the bigger problem was the part of Detroit that I was in. I think that this was more like anti-Detroit than it was anything that was related to Airbnb, because they were like kind of talking about that particular neighborhood.
Well, I actually thought it was pro Detroit because they were calling attention. It was like a social justice cry. Like, see, this is what happens when you let these poor areas go to shit when Ford leaves or whatever.
Yeah, but and the subject of like social justice, though, I feel like that like would be like the essence of like social justice there. Of when you have companies leave and like areas just get degraded, that's what happens.
Right. Most unspeakable horror. The more I'm thinking about certain scenes and talking about it, I'm reliving I really liked the movie. That's probably the most I've enjoyed watching the movie.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, but like the scenes, my favorite parts were when they finally show this guy, and he's doing very little. It's just little hints, little kind of shadows of getting the diapers, and the brief conversation in the front yard as all the for sale signs are going up. Hey there, well, looks like we're getting out soon. I assume you are too. I'm not going anywhere. That's my favorite part. I'm not going anywhere. And he goes down in the basement with the diapers.
It also made me think about when you sold your house.
I did sell my house. Yep, I was measuring the floor. I was doing all that stuff. I did have a house with a very creepy crawl space. Well, and just like the more kind of primal fear centers that it tapped into, the room, the hallway, the long basement hallways that just keep going. Awesome. And the little room with just the camera in the bed.
Yeah.
Love that shit. And the fact that they don't need to fucking tell you every single little thing that happened. Like they leave a lot of blank space for your head to just kind of fill in. Like, okay. It's almost like the game Myst, the computer game. Like you don't get to see all this fucking crazy shit all the time.
Brothers, the rocket ship, and they're like, read the scroll.
Yeah, well, I just because you don't
I would love to play Myst.
Yeah, I did enjoy that with the basement once they open the door and then get to the room, and I'm watching that and I'm like, oh wow, the room, like this is this is it, like this is the big reveal, and then like having like more to it than that. I thought
let's go with the second door is my other favorite part. And you're like, oh wow, whoa, okay, there's this other door.
Yeah.
That was good stuff. And just real quick aside about Myst, I never like actively played Myst. Were there any like monsters or anything in that game, or was it just like pure like you're on an island?
Puzzles and like holograms of Renaissance looking guys talking about a fight with their brother and then eventually a rocket ship.
See, I wasn't as smart or gifted with video games, so I never got to holograms.
Yeah, that was the Myst was like a stealth way to recruit people to Odyssey of the Mind. If you finish the game Myst, they just sent you to Odyssey of the Mind.
I don't even know what you're talking about now. See, this is cool stuff.
Odyssey of the Mind was for like not quite gay kind of nerd people to do creative performances.
That would have been perfect for us.
I actually was mad that all my friends were invited to participate and I was not. And then I went to their performance like this and was like, this isn't fun or cool. But it was like not really theater kid stuff. It was kind of for like zany nerds to have like a creative outlet.
The zanier the better, baby. I guess. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, it's like zany nerds, like Pink Milk.
Like who?
Pink Milk. It's a band that not a lot of people have heard of. That Mike and I, when we went to Blues Camp Blues, Mike calls the blues the blues.
Yeah.
And we went to Bliss Camp, and there was a talent show, and some of the other younger performers formed a band called Pink Milk. And suffice it to say, it was, as they say nowadays, gay. But anyway,
Do they have any recordings that are available on the internet, do you think?
this is only in me and Mike's brain. Nick might remember. Listen,
I remember.
Would they have recordings on the internet?
I don't think so.
Nick says probably no recordings on the
but
internet.
this happened in like the year 2000. People weren't
Yeah.
recording it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, I mean, this is like just like kind of like a one-time thing. This is like, you know, Les Claypool and Stuart Copeland and Trey Anastasio getting together, you know, like one-time thing.
Right.
What's your favorite track off that album, Mike?
Well, the one that immediately comes to my mind. Well, okay, so there are a couple ones. I would say there are some live, like there. I could give a couple different answers to that one. I would say Pseudo Suicide,
Sure.
one of the top ones. Owner of the World, I like a lot,
I don't remember that one.
and like Little Faces.
The one that I think of I wouldn't have even said it was my favorite at the time, but the one that has stuck in my mind and will still come up in my head is the Billy Came Back from Vietnam.
Yeah.
That one I still get in my head. So ultimately, I think that means it's my favorite, even if I didn't think it was my favorite at the time.
Yeah, that is that does, you know, burrow itself deep in your mind. But yeah, they have, I mean, online though, they have like you just go to YouTube, they get like some full like live performances of them, and like the live versions of Polka Dot Rose. Like the live version of like Polka Dot Rose is also
You
very
think
good.
that's the live version is the superior version?
Yeah, because like the live version, you get more like, you know, like Les Claypool, you know, more still like Les Claypool there, like unchanged.
Evan. Evan's a picture now. What happened? Did Evan leave? Evan's protesting us discussing a shared interest.
Yeah, that's what Evan does.
I don't even care. It doesn't even matter.
Well, geez, you know, I'll say too on the subject of getting back to Barbarian is I wasn't entirely anticipating a podcast. If I was, I would have had notes that I would have been taking, and if we could have like one by one gone through.
Well, we don't need notes for this movie, and I heard you guys were talking about Primus, so I got up and left.
We were talking about Oysterhead.
Thank you very much.
Forget burners.
Mike,
which I'm very
what
happy.
theater did you see Barbarian at, Mike?
I saw Barbarian. That was at the Regal Meridian downtown is where I saw that. And
How many other people at your screening?
Pardon me?
How many other people at your screening?
Oh, I think it was, I mean, just about sold out there.
Damn,
So
I wish. I only had like 12 other people. I wish it was sold.
it was, yeah, it was good. That was actually the first like the first like crowded theater I'd been in a while, because the other movies that I've seen have been not quite as crowded as that one. But yeah, there were definitely a lot of laughs that were happening in the movie. So that was a fun movie to be watching with more of a crowd.
How about you, Evan? How many people at your screening?
5. Because I think I
Have you been
saw
to any screenings of new movies that were packed?
Well, this one today, Smile, was packed.
Oh
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I'll say something else that I'm not supposed to say. Mitchell, our other brother, who Mitchell and I were hanging out this morning, playing a little Magic. And he told me he had seen Smile with a friend of his last night, and that it was a perfect instance of what I refer to as a date night with Boo movie. Have we talked about this on the Cats podcast before?
It's probably come up. I will listen to every single podcast. After this,
Double check.
Well, movies that appeal to younger black couples, semi-professional black couples, you know. Boo finally got a night off from working at the car dealership. He's selling Kias, and his boo is, you know, a paralegal or whatever. And the two Boos, they have separate kids from separate marriages, but they have like a Bebe's Kids style babysitter. And the two Boos get together. They're going out to eat first. Boo got to be.
Where are they going to eat? Where are they going to eat?
They're going either to the Olive Garden or, maybe Applebee's. Yeah. Probably, or like Carrabba's Italian Grill, Cheesecake Factory, that kind of thing. And then they're going to go to see a movie like, this whole date night with Boo thing, Nick has heard this already, so sorry, it's boring. But this all started in the 90s with movies like Candyman and Dr. Giggles and Leprechaun, which of course had several sequels that were right smack in the face. Leprechaun in the Hood was, So this movie, I mean, Mitchell wasn't wrong. I wouldn't say it's quite a date night with Boo, but there were many more black couples at the movie than would normally be at a movie at Alamo Drafthouse. But of course,
did you go see Nope anywhere? I wanted to be curious how it compared to Nope.
I haven't seen Nope. It looks stupid.
I like it.
You liked it? Or maybe I'll see it.
Yeah, no, I think that, yeah.
And I will tell you specifically, my favorite thing about Nope is with Jordan Peele, everyone's always just jacking off ahead of time to have a racial take. And to me, unless I'm completely oblivious, which is very possible as a white man, I did not detect a significant rational anything to that movie.
Well, you see, and that's part of the problem. And that's what we are fighting against. And it would be better.
You got to tell me.
Let me ask you. Why should we listen to a podcast run by three white men? I see a really problematic lack of diversity. I see white man, white.
Do either of you, if either of you had a gun to your head right now, you had to make a phone call with a contact in your phone to have a black person that would come on the podcast, could you do it?
Yes, easy.
Oh, that is a good.
I could not.
Wait. So is the question? Do I have a contact? Is the question? Do I have a contact in my phone?
Someone that would. Do you have a black friend that would come on the podcast?
I sure do. But we would have to make it. We would not be if we somehow let on to her that she was being invited on to be a black presence, she wouldn't do it. But if I just said, "Hey, I got this podcast. It's really fun. Do you want to come and share your perspective?" She would do it.
Well, maybe she can come on the Nope.
I would also say that's a good question. Like, would I say some of the stuff I say on this podcast in front of?
I don't know. Hard to say.
She would agree with date night with Boo. I don't think that's racist. It is.
The audience. There's a question from the audience.
I have to say, Erica and I went to see Barbarian, and we sat in the back of the theater, and a couple seats left. We had date night with Boo. I was very tickled that we were privy to the classic experience, and it is exactly what you described. Multiple bits of chicken fingers and burgers, strong cologne, strong perfume, nice clothes.
Yes.
And I would say the perfect amount of out loud commentary during the film, which I think that's part of why you go to the movie theater.
Right. So that is one thing very interesting. So first of all, I want to know. I think the cologne you were smelling is called Jupe. Okay, Jupe. If you're familiar with that, Google it. And second, it was interesting because the date night with Booze today at Smile, you can't really do the hooting and hollering at Alamo. They'll kick your ass out, which is kind of why I like Alamo. Although I agree with what Nick just said. Sometimes it is nice to have the "oh damn" moments, or no.
I do want to just like tie these two things together though, and like to kind of bring it back to Barbarian is what did stick out. I think that anybody who saw Nope and also saw Barbarian, I think there is a scene in the movie which I think we all immediately thought of the movie Nope, and it goes without saying, but that is when the main female protagonist goes down and opens up the door. And like the first thing that she says is "nope," which I thought that was. I don't really have any additional commentary on that as well. But
is that a reference to the movie Nope? You're saying?
No. Well, I think. Well, so I think. And then Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that it's like kind of. It's not really reversed, but I think that the movie Nope is like a reference to the common, like people seeing something that's like off and saying nope,
Not
like
fucking
nope.
that.
So if that makes sense. So I mean, I'm guessing we probably look at when the movies were produced, but I'm guessing that there's no relationship there. So
yeah, I don't think the timelines would work out for either one to be referencing the other. Here's another related question: if you guys were in some situation where there was a hidden door, would you go through the hidden door by yourself?
Well, and so if the hidden door, would the hidden door be like this situation, or would it be any hidden door? Because I think that like
in an unfamiliar space, would be it an Airbnb or whatever, some other way, on any building you're in where you don't know the place and you discover a hidden door, would you inclined to explore past the hidden door by yourself?
So I would say, I mean, so I know that we're talking about this movie like in the having this conversation in the context of a movie of like there's a a monster that's like living in a place where a bunch of like torture happens. So there's that. But even with that said, like in real life, if I'm not going to be thinking about like, oh, maybe there's like a monster under here. So like if I were to be at a building and there was a door that would be opened up. I think that my initial inclination would be to explore. However, now that I think about this, though, I do like whenever I'm at a building and I'm like going through like, oh, the elevator's not working, I'm going up and down. I'm always worried of like, am I going to get locked in here? So I think the fear of like having the door closed behind you, which of course happened as an important plot point in this movie. I think I would be. It would really depend on like if there was a clear escape route or like a way of me getting out. But I think that it'd be 50-50. I wouldn't be entirely averse to exploring that, I guess is what I would say. But I would have some reservations more on getting trapped in there. Would you?
Evan first. I always go last.
I feel like it's one of those things where I would like to be able to answer, but I don't know. It would depend on what kind of mood I'm in.
Let's do specifically the movie. Airbnb, basement, clearly secret entrance.
Yeah, if there's a clearly secret entrance, I would probably like leave immediately. But I don't know. I don't know. Like it depends on like what's on the other side. Though, because I mean, if there's like a safe on the other side, like well, that makes sense. I mean, that kind of raises some questions, but that's a little bit. I guess the question would then become like how when you open the door, like how easy would it be to rationalize something? Because I'm sure like I would like rationalize it pretty quickly of that one. I don't know. I'm having a hard time giving a direct answer because I also my childhood home was my childhood home was like an older house that was built in like 1890, which just had a bunch of like attics and other stuff. So like being in a home that had like a weird hidden door to a weird like defunct room is, I guess, that doesn't seem that weird. Anyway, go ahead, Evan.
I would only go if I had my boo with me.
Yeah.
It's got to be solo because that's how it is in the movie.
Well, fuck yeah, I would go, dude.
All the way down.
I wouldn't even be scared. There was a little kid sitting next to me at the Smile movie today, which was a really fucking scary movie. And he was probably 7 or 8. Yeah, and his parents took him to go. They were sitting next to him. He ordered a big fat milkshake. I was happy for him. He had like it was an interracial couple. And so he was a little mixed kid with a little fro coming out of the baseball cap, and he had like a full Adidas like tracksuit on. And he was like 8 years old drinking this milkshake. And he did a good job during the movie. He didn't freak out or anything. But at the end of the movie, and I give him a pass because he was so young. I won't spoil anything about the movie, but at the very end, the last song that plays while the credits are rolling is Lollipop, Lollipop, Ooh, Lolly, Lolly, Lolly. And it was sort of like the kid at the doctor who just gets the shot and starts to try to distract himself from how scary and painful it is by like singing or smiling or dancing. He started singing the song and dancing in a way that was clear he was really scared. And he was trying to calm himself down. And I was tempted to say, hey, don't be a pussy. But
what you should have done, Evan, is you should have just gone looked him in the eye and just like given him a smile.
I should have just slapped him across the face. No, I was grateful.
I would like to answer my own question now that I made you guys answer, which is in the scenario in the movie, I would absolutely go through the first door and be kind of like, oh shit. Second door, no way. The first door with the camera, I'd be like, oh fuck. And then like the second door, I'd be like, absolutely not.
And so the only person who actually did that, well, both the men did it, and the girl only went to go after the Skarsgård guy, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, the best thing about that movie was that there's so many things that it didn't show you. It played the silence, just like the blues.
Yeah, the blues, the thing about the blues, and this is about music in general, but like really about the blues, is people are like, it's all about the notes. And I'm like, no, 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 no. It's about the notes that you don't play.
That's right.
That's what really makes it
Why
great.
John Cage 4 minutes 33 seconds is the greatest piece of music of all time.
Wait, what's that?
The famous John Cage piece where he doesn't play anything.
Literally opens his piano and records for 4.5 minutes, and a bunch of yuppies in New York, probably Justin Long type people.
Well, they pay like $80,000.
They all jack off.
They all.
What I can say though with the movie is because like Evan and I we talked about this a little bit last week. Actually, I'd say we had a fairly sensitive conversation about Barbarian last week. And one thing that we did appreciate about this is the classic red herring of how like Bill Skarsgård, how you're like, well, he's clearly up to something with this bottle of wine and the like the night terrors that he's having. He's up to no good. So
night terrors. I feel like I do stuff like that. I don't think there was I mean, I understand in the situation why she would be perturbed, but in general, he was just being like, which to me, that's normal sleeping.
Yeah, but I thought that was effective. However, on that point is I don't know how much for that reason though. I don't know how much rewatch value this movie has on particularly for the first half until like Bill Skarsgård gets his head bashed in, because like a lot of the fun of the first half is like, oh, like is he going to be the guy or whatnot. But like once you know all of that, I think it doesn't. I don't know if the movie has as much rewatchable value.
I hear what you're saying there, but I actually disagree because I was actually just on the way home from seeing Smile. I was talking to my friend Connor, who just moved to LA and goes to a lot of movies. And actually, Connor, you guys know Connor.
Do I?
Nick, no, you know who he is. What's the name? I can't never remember the name of his musical thing. Fuck, it doesn't matter. It matters, but I can't think of it.
It matters.
He does the kind of shit you would, huh?
Lituous? That's what Nick said.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway.
Shout out to Lituous. Mike gave the Mike's podcast both.
He makes the kind of music that you and Mac Owens make or whatever. But anyway,
I'll have to look into that.
I'll send you his thing. You might like it. But anyway, he was saying how it's like he had seen Barbarian recently as well, and he and his friend were both like, it's a multiple watch movie, and I think it is for me too, because there are lots of like nooks and crannies that I want to get a better look at in that basement, for one. Number two, I want to see if the brain
your own basement, so you can be more like the guy.
No, we're gonna get to that. I have a question for the group about that in a second, but I also want to see if my brain fills in a little bit more of that space. You know what I mean? That silence where the notes aren't being played. I want to see where that journey takes me.
Yeah.
So even though I know the surprises, they're not surprises anymore.
I had the same reaction as Mike, where I was like, "This is incredible." And I love it, but I don't know if it's not a movie I would want to own. Let's put it that way. It's a movie I would watch again, but it's not a movie I'd be like, I need to own this. I will watch this many times throughout the course of my life.
You don't need to own.
Nothing wrong with that. I wish people made more movies like that. I don't think you need to make a movie that you rewatch.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree, and that's actually kind of a point I've been thinking about a bit recently here too, Adam. About like the movies. I think there's a nature of them. Like it's very positive and a good thing. A lot of movies are going to be more ephemeral, where you see them, you remember a lot about them, you enjoy the experience, but you don't need to watch them over and over again. Not every movie needs to be Terminator 2, so you can just have a fun thing there. So I definitely agree with that, and that's That's one. I also want to comment on the movie as well. It's one thing I've been realizing as I've been getting older is that there are some movies that I've seen and I just don't remember anything about them, and it's just completely like erased from my memory. This is one where like if we talk about this 10 years, 15 years down the line, I'm confident that even if I don't see it again, I'll be able to reconstruct the plot, from start to finish pretty effectively. So it's definitely a memorable piece of cinema.
I recently had that exact experience because I rewatched a movie called The Fifth Chord, and I was like, "This is incredible. Where has this movie been my whole life?" And I was telling a friend about it who has shared interest, and the friend was like, "You told me to watch that movie 10 years ago. It's great." And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I searched my email, and 10 years ago, I emailed them and was like, "This movie's incredible. You got to check it out." And I watched the whole thing thinking it was the first time I'd seen it and that I couldn't believe. And it's not even hearsay. I have an email of me myself describing the things I like about it 10 years ago that I have like zero recollection of.
Yeah, I've done that.
So
I've done that. So my question for the group is, so if you were in a situation like the guy where like, I'm not saying like you could do this, but if you could just like, get the women in the basement with you and whatever he did, whatever, and all of a sudden like you have babies and you wait long enough and the babies turn it into like, normal developed human beings, would you have sex with the baby?
Your grandchildren?
Your children. Yeah, your children. Yeah, you got to think about it, right? I mean, like it takes this. Yeah, Mike, I can see your wheels turning.
Yeah, well, I think that you've I've been doing this podcast long enough that I think we all know that I'm going to be sitting this one out. So I'll let you do it.
I will say, if you enjoy that thought experiment, a great movie starring Mia Goth from Pearl and Robert Pattinson from New Batman is the movie High Life, which is a movie where criminals are given the option to, rather than serve a life sentence, go to outer space to do fertility experiments, but they don't get to have sex. They just use a masturbation machine and get pregnant and see if the babies happen. A bunch of stuff gets fucked up. It's kind of a spoiler, but I don't care. The end of the movie, only Robert Pattinson and his daughter are left. And he is coping with the knowledge that because he's the fucking guy he is, he either has to kill himself and his daughter, or he's going to have sex with his daughter, and he kills himself and his daughter. And it's an incredible movie that I just ruined, but you were never going to watch it anyway, except because...
Yeah, I would have watched it. Why did you do that? I totally would have watched that.
Never, because you never would have. You wouldn't have never heard of it. You now went through the experience of finding out.
I had heard you. You just are so stupid.
Wait, what's the name of this movie?
I don't know. I don't want to ruin it. It's just
I could go on the internet here and see what Robert Pattinson's
well,
been in.
because
I'm actually interested. I am interested in this.
That's good. This is my new way to get you guys to see a movie. Is tell you never watched. You're supposed to be like, actually, I want to go watch it.
Like, if the thing is though, Adam, like if I did that to you, like with Barbarian, or like if I did that with Smile right now, you would get really upset. And you just did it.
Yeah, the movie that's coming out. See if I care.
Well, I
want to just jump in here real quick. I will say I am a bona fide Robert Pattinson fan. So okay.
But you've never heard of this movie I'm talking about that he starred.
I have not. I think that that's not so much an indictment of my appreciation of Robert Pattinson as it is that I'm just a bit out of the loop of movies these days. So yeah, so I would say,
which is how I know you're never going to see it. If you don't see a movie from 5-6 years ago, why never go see it?
That's not true. But
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with your police work there.
Mia Goth, I didn't even know. I didn't really even know who she was until I saw Pearl, and then I read about her and her work, and I read about that movie and had made a mental note like that looks pretty good. I'm going to go see that, and now it's ruined.
And now you know how good it's going to be.
No, it's totally.
Speaking of kick off, have you enjoyed the paparazzi photos of Shia LaBeouf groping her in like at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday while they're taking their baby out in a stroller? Really incredible paparazzi photos.
No, but that sounds funny.
It's like broad daylight on a major street, and they have like smoothies, and they're pushing their baby in a stroller. And first, he just like fully grabs her breast, and then like reaches down the front of her pants, just like out on the street while they're sipping smoothies. He has like a really funny sombrero on. Incredible paparazzi photos.
Wow, that's good.
But yeah, she's great in Nymphomaniac. She's great in the Suspiria remake. She's great in Cure for Wellness.
Pearl was pretty tight. So I guess I'll take both of your silence as like a maybe on response.
I answered. I directly answered.
No, you just spoiled the movie. You evaded the question.
I said probably not, and then I gave a relevant recommendation.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying not if you like. Would you if you could?
What do you mean? That's why I said probably not. I mean, it depends. How hot are they?
Right. I mean, you know, if it's in Detroit, like what the fuck else, you know? I mean,
It's funny because we are all people who've spent some time in Wisconsin, and I definitely feel like there's a little bit of like flyover state patina to the Detroit stuff in that movie. And it's funny for us as Wisconsin people, like, yeah, you know, fucking piece of trash place like Detroit. It's like, it's not like Wisconsin is God's promise.
It's not. Milwaukee is a smaller, less bad version of Detroit.
Yeah, I feel like the trajectory of Milwaukee is different than the trajectory of Detroit, though. So,
but it's there's still dirty Great Lakes industrial cities. You know, a lot of cities in Ohio.
Yeah, but I think I mean, I would say you could probably make. You would not be that far off saying that like Racine, for example, is on a much smaller scale the same thing as Detroit. And actually, you know what? So
they call it Little Detroit. You know, that's something few people know.
If somebody actually called it Little Detroit, I would actually believe that was just something I just hadn't heard. But on that point, I wanted to just go back to Barbarian for a second, as we did talk about on the theme of the notes that weren't played. And you know, you mentioned having like filling in the gaps of like what was happening during the torture that went on down there. What a movie that.
What do you guys need to know?
Well, no, so my point is, when I was watching the movie, there was part of me that was expecting it to turn into like a martyr style, you know, thing where they were going to be like very explicitly exploring some of the torture that happened in the movie, which of course they did not. So I just wanted to bring up that comparison. And the thing is, in terms of like filling in the gaps of like what happened in the movie, I guess like the way I would naturally like fill it in would be like, I guess martyrs wouldn't be the right thing because they had there was different motivation for the torture that was going on there. But
totally different from martyrs, man. I think the blanks in particular that I'm thinking about, it's like the questions you inevitably have, like how long was this going on? How many victims, you know, like what happened to the other bodies? What's he doing with the bodies? What did he film? What's on those fucking tapes? What is puker? What happened? What made her puke? All that shit. I want to know the answers.
What happened? What made her puke? You know what I want to know? As someone who's been around home excavation, where did he put all the dirt? That's a lot of dirt. And they imply there's one scene where you see a couple buckets of dirt. And I'm like, yeah, sure. A couple 5-gallon buckets. That's like landfill-sized amount of dirt he just played.
Yeah, I know. I think what he probably did was like, you know, it was Naked Gun 33 1/3 style, where he just, you know, brought it to the local baseball line.
Yeah,
put it all there.
Or maybe he's the descendant of another barbarian, and that basement has been there since, you know, colonial times.
Well, because they imply that he's building it. They show him getting the excavation.
I think though, too, like in terms of the verisimilitude of the movie, is that I think within the thank you. I think they talk about like the total indifference of the police officers in the movie and just like the general suburban decay that was happening there. I think it's within the realm of the universe where like he was doing the excavation and people were so hell bent on leaving that nobody cared, like nobody was even paying any attention to it. Where like in my mind, I would just
that all the vacant properties are empty anyway, so he could really do whatever he wanted with the
dirt. Yeah, there could be a huge pile there too. And in terms of, and I also presume that like at night, you know, the monster, I don't know what the name of the monster's name was there, but that I don't know.
and her name is Sheila.
Yeah. But I assume that, like, I don't know, she was like scavenging for supplies at night or something, maybe going into town at the local Home Depot, or I don't know, maybe it was like a fallout shelter type thing down there that he blast from the past style, where he just had 40 years of supplies.
The way I would do it is
This is a prequel to Blast from the Past, and Brendan Fraser is his kid.
Yeah.
And he's not actually a kid, and he's just kind of stupid.
That's what I want to see, is the new Brendan Fraser, the whale.
You know that's going on Mike's Movie Podcast.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, we are. I would say we are appreciators of Darren Aronofsky here.
We should probably get tickets to a premiere, because we're an important publication that they should be lit.
It probably wouldn't be that difficult for us to like get a media credential. I mean, Adam, you would probably know more than I would, but I feel like it could.
But the question is, though, Mike, would you ever allow that to happen? Because in order for that to happen, we would have to publicize these recordings to an extent that I don't think that you are comfortable with.
I don't know. It's already got it's got a pretty wide acclaim. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality of the viewership. You don't have to have a wide awareness to be an influencer. There's the trickle down effect.
I'm okay with it just always being a small thing that we do, but I also think there are aspects of it that are marketable. Most of them have to do with.
Which aspects do you think are marketable? What are the most marketable?
Baby, right here. I got the jokes. I'm bringing the fire. I'm bringing the disruption. I'm making things, a little spicier than maybe you would expect.
Yeah, you've got this spicy disruption of advocating for traditional family values anytime we debate.
Yeah, well, I think I would want to talk about, like, in terms of like marketability of this one. I would say like probably a solid like 40 to 50% of the conversations that we have are related to people that we directly know. And like,
I will say, Mike, I will tell you, I used to think you were right about that, but ever since I started listening to Come Town, one of the most successful, profitable podcasts on Patreon, that's how they are too. And eventually, you as a listener just understand from them talking about the same people what they're talking about, even though they're people you're never going to meet in your entire life. That's one
of these things where I could see it. I could see it like going like both ways. Where, right? So it's like I guess like talking about like Grown Ups, like the movie, like Grown Ups 2, for example. I think that like part of the appeal of those movies, it's like, hey, we're going to be hanging out with the Sandman and his buddies for a couple of hours. So I think that there is that level of appeal, though. But I don't know how like reliable and like repeatable that is in terms of that, because I just don't know. So we could focus group this here and see what people think.
Hey, I'm down. I just we got to do a Nick and Erica check. How are they doing?
Hey, they're not paying attention. They're playing with the dogs.
Okay.
I think we lost them.
They look like they're ready to open Christmas presents right now.
Yeah, let's actually open it up to the audience here. If there are any questions that they have for the hosts about the movie, anything that they want our opinion on, we can open it up.
Did you have a question?
No.
Wow.
Well, I think it's funny that you decided to debate amongst each other about if you would do various things that are presented in the movie, and you chose very obvious things that obviously going to do, such as,
what are you talking about?
Have incest.
That was him. That wasn't me. That was him.
That was like that was brought forward. That is like.
But I had a caveat. I was like, it's like, would you if you could?
Evan was implying he would.
Right, I know. Stupid, concept.
Did
And
you
then
hear that?
also the like
Stupid.
It's a stupid concept.
door.
I actually thought about that.
That's a fair debate, but it's like.
Did you hear that? Yours was stupid. Mine was fair.
Oh no, Erica thinking my thing was stupid.
Go down the unlit stairs in the creepy basement after seeing the video camera. Of course he wouldn't. But the debate that I think is more important, and which is debated by the characters in the movie from the very beginning, if you got to your property that you had rented and somebody was already there, would you?
I mean,
yeah, that's a good question. So the question is like, if if we were rented an Airbnb and it turns out that it was double booked, like how do we respond to that situation?
Fuck no, no way. I would
Would have sex with a baby, but you wouldn't go in the Airbnb.
no, you don't have sex.
What if your baby was the other person running the Airbnb?
Let's be serious here. You can't have sex with a baby. I said when the baby becomes a legitimate adult of child rearing age, then and if you could do it, like if you could do what that guy like.
I don't even understand.
Basically,
I won't engage in that.
Wait, what
yes,
is it?
I wouldn't be.
I think Erica and I are aligned of like not engaging. Oh, which is
you're just taking my bait. Come on, of course you.
Evan wins again.
Wait, Evan, are you? Wait, what's going on? We're taking your bait by not taking your bait. Is that what you're saying?
Master plan?
Yeah.
So it's all part of the plan.
Evan's the Joker. He's still, complicit.
Well, you asked me what would make the podcast marketable, and I just gave it to you, and you're all just like, "How could he say that? Oh my god!" Which is so like such a stock reaction. But I'm just saying.
That was how we reacted.
Yeah, look how shocked. These are some shocked people.
I don't know. I think our I don't know. I would say that our reaction was fairly neutral.
I would say eye rolling was the predominant reaction.
So you're neutral on the question, which is what I said. You're probably not sure. It's a hard question, so you got to make up your mind. Sleep on it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, so the question, like, I think that is a good question. Like, what would we do if somebody were to, like, we go to an Airbnb and someone were going on there? I guess this does. Well, I don't know how much more likely that would be at an Airbnb than it would be at a hotel. Probably more likely than that one. I don't know. I would. I mean, I think that my answer is probably pretty obvious. I would probably concede the Airbnb to the other person, not do any sort of due diligence as to whether it was a mistake, and just go to a Howard Johnson and be perfectly happy.
Right, but she didn't have that option. There were no Howard Johnsons. I would just slept in my car.
Yeah.
If I were the girl, if I were the guy, I don't know.
If you were a guy.
No, that's a hard. No. If you were Skarsgård's character in that situation, that's a hard question because I would be thinking like the benevolent caretaker in me would want to say you can stay here, but then there would be part of me that knew like no, that's kind of creepy to even offer that. So you shouldn't let her stay here. And I would feel very conflicted.
Yeah. You know what? I want to actually take a bit of a digression here about the movie. And I think that's actually something that like Bill Skarsgård did very well about that. Is I think he actually did a good job of like acting out and like writing that particular conflict. Like for like the wine scene, for example, of like, I want to have some wine, but I know that this is kind of weird if you were there and having the wine. So I think that what your answer, I think that like essentially was pretty well displayed in the movie.
I know, but like we talked about at that point, I was still like 80% sure he was the Barbarian. Yeah. I didn't know shit about this movie. So like, which is what made it fun.
Yeah, so I think though that perhaps like the answer to the question though of like who would you be in the movie, I think maybe Bill Skarsgård is the answer.
No, I'm the goddamn Barbarian.
Basically what he does.
Yeah. But I don't know. You said that I don't know. You said that your reaction was.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, well,
right. We're all Evan.
I do look like Bill Skarsgård a lot. If Bill Skarsgård had a beard and was like a little bit more handsome, it would basically be me.
Yeah. And Bill Skarsgård. But who are the other Skarsgårds?
Still
double chin.
And the bad one from the Northman. I forget that.
They're all hung like Norse gods.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think though, and just Adam, I'm going to answer the question for you about the Airbnb. Like that's like not even a possibility. Like you wouldn't be booking with Airbnb to begin with. So
that's true.
Well,
if it happened, if I were the person arriving and there was someone there, absolutely not. I hate meeting new people. I hate strangers. I would sleep in my car. If I were the person and another person showed up, I would be paranoid and I would do the due diligence to make sure that I had not screwed up in some way. And if I had not screwed up in some way, I would be like, well, I'm sorry, I'm staying here.
So final question, and then
Final.
wrap it up.
We have to make sure they don't have any more questions.
They
We're
look
still
miserable.
over in the audience
You
there.
need to entertain your guests. They're not entertained by my brilliant jokesterism.
I think what this podcast needs is more of my content.
Well, I think a lot of
I see you nodding in the background.
I see Nick nodding. Yeah, so I think most of our viewership would agree with that, Mike. But
Yeah, we
unfortunately,
can. We'll post it. When you post, can you do me a favor? When you post this on YouTube, can you like add in a comment? Like, please put in the comments who you want to hear more, and we can see if we actually get any comments for one. And
we will. I'm sure 2 or 3 people will definitely indulge
yeah,
that. I myself agree with that, Mike, but I think people like Adam and I are just incapable of putting a sock in it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I tried. This is, for the record, this is me trying. Because the few times I've skimmed through old ones, I'm like, man, I never shut up. So I really try, and this is the best I can do.
And when
It's
you
just-
and I both get going, it's like yeah. But I did want to ask, this is a legitimate, like back to the basics. Who made the fucking Airbnb ad?
It
The-
seems
the-
to me like Justin, sorry,
No, I'm sorry.
seems to me like Justin Long's property was being like run by a property management company that just like ran it for him and put it on his booking website.
And they just screwed up and made 2 on 2 different services.
Because
He
when
came
he
to
calls
town and got
them,
the keys,
it's
yeah.
like disorganized, and I thought the implication was the same company he has a frustrating experience calling is the ones who were running it, and they were similarly disinterested in any issues that were going on.
Yeah.
And they're just down there the whole time, Barbarian and Progeny. And presumably they have not killed many of the other Airbnb guests because something like that would inevitably show up in the reviews or the records.
Presumably.
So I
Assuming
think
this was one of the plot holes I felt in the.
But you can think of it as a plot hole, but I actually think it's a good plot hole. It's cool to think about how that might play out. Like maybe he lost the house, it got foreclosed on, and Brian Long, or whatever his name is, bought it and renovated it and never found the Barbarian who was just down there.
Yeah, that was my assumption.
Yeah, but you brought up like if there were other Airbnb guests that got killed.
I don't
Yeah,
think
I thought my assumption was there were no other people that got killed because that would have seemed implausible that it would not have been discovered.
Right.
But
Right.
it also
Right.
like implausible that the Airbnb existed in the first place, like in the area that it did without any reviews, like maybe warning, like this is a strange area.
Yeah, I like the scene where she has lunch with the lady and she's like, "You really shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be here." That's what they say to Mike when he walks into Best Buy. Shouldn't be here.
What is he looking for at Best Buy? Is he just getting some cables? What's he there for? A CD?
He's looking for best greatest Guns N' Roses greatest hits on CD. And
$15.99.
maybe like a second backup copy of Terminator 1 on DVD.
Thing I learned from a podcast I listened to is that the exteriors of the movie were filmed in Bulgaria, and that there are nowhere in Bulgaria that looks remotely like Detroit. So they took video of actual streets in that actual neighborhood in Detroit and did, a precise copy of that block in the middle of Bulgaria to do that. Because that's somehow cheaper than actually just filming in Detroit.
Well, Detroit's not safe. That's the whole point of the movie. So they can't film in Detroit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
All right, guys. Ahab Ahab is here.
I think it's Ahab's always been.
You've
The-
always have, so
I think it's time to quantify our assessment of the movie, and I want to just put this out to the group. We can do either the cheeseburger rating system, or we can have a bottle of baby formula rating system. So cheeseburgers versus bottles. Any preference from the group here? You know what? We'll do the cheeseburger rating menu, and we can add the bottles of milk there as a multiplier. Evan, actually, Adam, we're always going to start with you. Do you have a cheeseburger rating for this movie?
nope.
All right. Evan.
So I'm going to go ahead and just say that moment of this podcast is a 5 cheeseburger moment. I am going to make a whole song with that on loop in a rhythmic fashion. Yeah, it's maximum for me, maximum cheeseburgers. And it's the max. It's the best.
In the 90s.
Huh?
The Max. Remember that TV show with 2
I-
X's?
Which is one of the few VHS tapes I own, is the Max. On that from MTV. It's good things. But yeah, I don't have anything special to say about my rating. We inflate the ratings. And
Yeah.
I think it's important to do the ratings, but this is one of those movies.
Add in the comment too. What's your rating of the ratings, and do you want to hear more from Mike?
Yeah. How do you feel about the cheeseburger ratings? And well, I don't, not just that. We know it goes without saying that we want to all hear more from Mike, but I think, what kind of Mike do we want? What kind of Mike stuff do we want?
All of it. The whole 9 yards.
We want raw dog Mike. Anyway,
What is that?
You
Just-
tell me. That's for you to decide.
uninhibited, foam penis Mike. Remember when Mike there's a famous video of Mike at boot camp,
That was a dog bone. That was a flesh colored dog bone.
flesh colored dog bone, and that night you were pure energy, pure performance.
Yes.
It was free flow. That's what we want.
No, that
Those days are gone.
I'm too old. I'm too old for that.
You're the youngest person on this show, Mike.
What does that say?
That is technically.
How am I supposed to live my life if you've given up at your young age?
Right. Adam is about to croak over here. I went to the doctor yesterday. I want to get to Mike's cheeseburger rating, but I went to the doctor yesterday, and it was the first time I've ever been at the doctor. So she made a point to say, like, oh, you're still very young. But at the same time, things were mentioned like colonoscopies and just weird old man butthole tests that I don't have to.
What else was there? That's the one. Was there another one she was
There's
offering?
some other like penis test or something. I don't remember. I wasn't really paying attention, but my diastolic was a little too high. She's like, yeah, you might want to cut back on the salt, that kind of thing. I just, it was a real, like, you are almost middle age. And yeah.
Well, I think the song.
What did that have to do with anything? Was that just a random aside?
I thought
that was going
I
somewhere.
thought we agreed that the beauty of this show is the tangents, okay? We all agreed on that. Mike, what's your cheeseburgers?
Well, no, what I was going to say is that I believe the song "Glory Days" by Bruce Springsteen. I think he was 35 years old when that song was released. Like, that song is about like how all of the fun times of my life are like long gone. And
Well, that's ancient.
And he was 35. I think that was a bit more true in that era when people were like regularly having kids as soon as they turned like 22. So that's a little bit different than the norm now. But yeah, no, I think on that point, we're all 37 here. So it's like one of these things where I would still, yeah, I'd say, well, what is it, like the average life expectancy in the United States? Like, what is it, like 75, 76 these days? So we're like smack dab in the middle. Pardon me?
We'll see how that holds up. Those numbers, there's a lot of testing. A lot of things change.
I know it's gonna go up.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's-
no.
it has gone down though. I think in back-to-back years due to COVID.
COVID. Yeah, well, that's because like 1% of the adult population died.
Data. Let me tell you about the data.
Well, Adam, there is
Yeah.
a thing called evidence, but
Yeah.
overall, life
Well,
expectancy.
that's why, in addition to being anti-science, I'm anti-judicial system.
Yeah.
Where
You're
my
just
fuck money-
anti whatever.
my
You're just
power-
anti whatever anybody else is saying. You're just trying to carve out your own independence however you can. It's like a 7-year-old who just learned how to swear. Like that's how it is with you and like life.
And it's working out great. I'm
Fuck,
having a great
fuck,
time.
Fuck. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So anyway, as your question
Today,
as your question, Evan. So I would say just cheeseburger rating. I'm gonna have to give this one 4 cheeseburgers. Very, very solid all around. I would say no flaws in the movie that would lead to any sort of demerit burgers. So I'm gonna give this 4. So everybody listen out here, if you're on the fence, like should I see Barbarian? Should I not see Barbarian? If you're on the fence, I would say make a plan, put it on your calendar, bring 2 friends, go see it. You'll have a good time.
Bring food.
well, and that wraps
Should
it
we
up.
give them a rating?
You guys want to give your rating?
I
Whoa. We don't want
Whoa.
to. We don't want.
That sounds like more people on my team that won't give you a rating. Are you guys going to stand for that?
we'll talk about this offline.
Whoa. Uh-oh. Daddy's mad.
Yeah, we're gonna